Hi, my name is Shioni Givens, and I am the host of Women, Words, and Wine. Today, I have a guest panel.
My name is Siobhan.
My name is Willa.
And my name is Shanice.
This podcast is about talking and having conversations with just regular women. We all have some of the same issues, and it's great to have a conversation about how we handled them, how we handle things, how we deal with things. And it's always great. Start with a glass of wine.
Cheers.
This wine, yay! This wine is called Sono Rosso. Very similar to a Stella Black. I am having the Rosa. And what are you?
I'm having the sweet red.
I also have the sweet red.
Sweet red.
Right. So we're going to let you know what we think about this wine. And each and every time we get together, we're going to try something new. So today our topic is about co-parenting. One of the difficulties of co-parenting is when you are no longer with the person you have the child with. And I think all of us can probably say that we've had challenges in that department. I don't know if you want to go first and tell us what your experience has been like.
So I am married twice, divorced twice. 2 girls by my first husband, 2 boys by the second. And so with the first relationship, he kind of was in and out for a while. And then he kind of was just like, hey, give it to the next guy. You know, you got a new husband, let him handle everything.
Wow.
You know, and then the second husband, things just didn't pan out between us. So single mom on my own. Thank God I'm handling it. You know, it is what it is at this point. No family or close friends around, but you know, I do what I can do and do the best I can do.
That has to be like not like suck, I would say, just, you know, not having that support system, not having like friends, the fathers around, just with anything that happens like work related, when you're sick, you always have to have those kids 24/7.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, girl.
Thank you.
Well, I was a single parent, and in my generation, it was like you're a single parent or you get married.
Right.
And if it was a shotgun wedding and they kind of made you get married, and I made a decision that I'd rather be a single parent than be married, which wasn't as easy as people think. I was lucky to have parents. I grew up my generation is in the 70s. Grew up and I had lucky to have parents and grandparents on both sides to help me with my child. But the father was not always in the picture, you know, and I was judged. And in that generation, you're judged by having a child of your own, because you don't do that at that time. So it was a little bit harder. I had a job that took me out of town, but I was in town more than most parents and involved in their lives more than most parents were when they were in town. So it was a different kind of life then.
Yeah.
But I made it through it and I was happy for it.
I can say that I was actually very blessed. So I have 5 children. My first husband, he passed away in 2002. So to which I have 2 beautiful children by him. I have 3 other children, and their fathers, they have always been very, I guess, amicable to the situation. We've been able to kind of build relationships so that we could co-parent. Now, in the beginning, you know, we were all young. I think I had my first child when I was 22. And that was a little bit strained because I'm an only child. I really didn't have any siblings. I still don't. So motherhood was new for me. And so adding that piece, being an only child and trying to develop a relationship with somebody that I ultimately decided not to be with was a little difficult. I had made a decision early on that I wasn't going to create a scenario where if he wasn't doing something, I was like, and then your daddy said, and then your daddy did. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I knew when they grew up, they're going to know on their own.
Yeah.
They know who's there for them.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I was very fortunate too. My son had very good grandparents, and they helped me survive in those days, because there was a guilt that came along with having a child.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision that I'm going to make that decision that I can do it okay. And with their help, it was great.
Well, let me say, I was blessed as well as Shioni. I had my first kid when I was 27. My mom has always been around to help me with my son. His other parent, me and her were together for 14 years. And then just kind of out of the blue, we decided to have a baby. But, you know, it worked for us. And even though we're not together, we still co-parent very well. I have nothing bad to say to her. We have an agreement that we came up with on our own. No courts involved. We do 50-50. I have him every other weekend. And honestly, sometimes I have to ask myself, do I even have a kid?
Yeah.
Because when he's not with me, if he's not with his other parent and it's her weekend, he's with my mom. Like I can't keep him. So I'm blessed, and I've been blessed from the very beginning.
Yeah. I have too.
Yeah.
You know,
I have too.
one thing I want to tap on, and kind of what came to mind when we were talking about this, is that a lot of times people think you should stay in a relationship for the kids, and that is never the right reason to stay in something, because you know, you don't want your kids to see you arguing with that person, not getting along, or why is mommy and daddy in separate rooms, you know, things like that. So people have this stigmatism, oh, you guys should stay together for the kids. No. And I think we're all a proof of that. You can do it, you know, without the other person if necessary.
I think a lot of times women will say, oh, I'm staying with him because we have kids together. And a lot of the times it's not the kids, it's a comfortability measure. Like you're comfortable with that person, especially if they've been together a long time, you know.
The demons, you know.
And a lot of times you're with that person even though you're not that happy, but
exactly.
But you make a decision that I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. So you end up staying, and then you stay and you prolong, and you know you guys keep hurting each other, and then it gets deeper and deeper until you eventually hate this person, and then that's when the co-parenting starts to go bad.
Yeah.
Because you hate this person, and now everything is their fault, and oh, I don't want my kid around you, and you got a new girlfriend, I don't want my kids around her either.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because there are times where, you know, I'd hear, well, I can't come over there, or I can't talk to you. And I'm like, why? Like, we have a kid together. I mean, that we should be able to talk about anything. And I think for me, the problem was that we had a good relationship. We get on the phone, get
Same with me.
and laughing, and they're like, what y'all got to talk about?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you want to like the person because you were in love with them at one point, or you had a baby by them at one point. Nobody wants to be, all that all the time, all that rah-rah. I want to be able to call and say, hey, I'm going to come pick, so-and-so up at 2. Okay, great. What are you guys doing this weekend?
Yeah.
And be able to do that and not have this other person over here, like, oh, so you got to talk to your baby mama today.
A lot of the times it doesn't even be the parent, it's the parent's
Partner.
partner.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the issues come in it. And it's like at the end of the day, you kind of do have to step back and be like, well, I don't want to cause problems in their household, but why do I have to tiptoe around and we share a child?
Yeah,
Right.
because the child's the priority.
Yeah.
Right. And I was always, I think a lot of women like myself, it was like, I just want the father to be involved in the child's life. So
Yeah, not necessarily your life,
Yes.
but their life.
in their lives.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to cause any problems because I think they deserve to be in their life
Yeah.
without any problems.
Yeah.
If this is their weekend, this is their weekend.
Right.
I'm not going to come. I'm not going to
no
disrupt.
obstruction.
I don't care about the girlfriend. I don't care about them because I want you to be with the father.
Yeah.
With your father, with the child's father.
Yeah.
I will say, just on a maturity end, I was that resentful ex-spouse for a while because my first ex, is a long story. My life was like 5 Tyler Perry movies for real. But he got with this girl and he was doing all these things for her and spending all this money. I'm like, why did you not do any of that for me when we were together?
People change people.
Right.
So you have to take that into.
Well, if I told you about her.
And yeah.
No, but it's the truth because when people say, well, he did this, I can't even fathom that person would even do that.
Yeah.
Because that's not the man that I
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So I'm still an advocate for him because I think, he's
But
taking
he did,
some of the
but
stuff.
he did that for you.
He did.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that he can do it for everybody.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the same feelings
Yeah.
And see,
for each.
my experience was he wasn't doing things for me, but not just for myself. But I thought, well, you didn't do anything for our children either. So how do you have all this money now to take and get her nails done and her hair done and stuff like that? But then I found on the side.
Flag on the play. Nails and hair. That's another story.
Flag on the play, because big flag on the play, because
Where's that flag?
Right.
Stop it. Let's stop it.
right, yeah, it was some other things. He was actually keeping her nice because he was trying to pimp her out. That's a whole other story.
Uh-oh.
Okay, yeah.
That might be a flag.
Yeah.
That's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
For another
That's
day.
another podcast.
That's another podcast.
Another podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think that mostly, I think women in general, as long as they're not, now there are some of them that, because they still have feelings, they obstruct.
Yeah.
They obstruct the ability for you to have a relationship with, and not necessarily a relationship, but one that's amicable enough where I can call you, right?
Yeah,
And I can say, hey, what you guys doing
yeah.
for the Super Bowl?
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, well, great. I hope you guys have it. Well, I'm gonna drop so and so off at 2. All right, great. And be able to do that.
Right.
But then you have this other person who is, I mean, just so resentful
Jealous.
and jealous still because they're even nice to you. We have got to get away from that.
Right.
Yeah,
we
definitely.
do. And if your baby father, daddy, has another woman that is a good for him, I'm happy for it.
Exactly. It's good for the child.
It's good for the
Right.
kid because they see happiness
It goes back
instead of
to
bitterness.
as well. And I don't know if I'm maybe speaking just from experience with my child's parent and his spouse, but she doesn't have a healthy co-parent relationship with her son's dad. So it's like, well, I don't think anybody should, have a healthy
Yeah.
relationship with.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't
why are you?
can't either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And like with my daughter, his spouse was she was actually very nice
Yeah.
to my child.
Oh,
And
she's very nice to my child. She
was
loves
very-
my child.
It was very hard for me to, I'm out of town and you take much out of to your house. Now that was hard for me to accept, but I had to let it go because she had sisters and brothers that she needed to know.
Yeah.
And for me to step in to stop that was not right for me.
Yeah.
So she needed to be able to be allowed to be happy with her other siblings.
Yeah. So do you think, so let me give you a scenario. So you know how, I'm just going to say Black mothers are about their children's hair. So my daughter's father's wife cut my daughter's hair.
Ooh.
I can't even express how
Live it
angry I
properly.
was.
Cut it or trim it.
Cut her hair.
Oh, no.
Well, I had problems with her combing her hair.
That too. How do you feel
Because
about,
I didn't know she was really, if she hurt her or not, but I had to drop all that.
but how do you feel? I mean, how would you feel? Because for me, my immediate emotion was anger. How dare you do that to my child? But
Right.
then I got to thinking about it. Well, she's not just my child. She's also his child.
And her
that's
child.
his wife.
Did he get permission for it?
See, that right there, that's where the gray area is. Because I feel like somebody should have called me and been like, are
Right.
you cool with,
Out of respect.
cutting her hair?
Yeah.
It's a respect factor.
Definitely.
You still
Yeah.
have to call and check in. It's
Yeah.
it have to do
Yeah.
with
Well, good. Then
well,
I'm not crazy.
I'm the dad and I'm
Yeah.
the mom. It's no
Like,
like
see, that's how
like
it
it's
was.
something mutual for the child. Like, hey, I was thinking about getting her ears pierced today. I know she's only 8. How do
6
you-
months.
First, yeah,
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like,
Yeah.
it's just simple
Yeah.
communication.
Or,
And I
or
think
either
that's where a
if
lot of
I'm out of
things go
town
wrong.
and all of a sudden the baby is at your house with your wife that I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and what do you, okay, so we can agree on that.
Yeah. This
Well, what about,
respect and communication are totally
Yes,
important.
it is.
but I see you made me forget what I was
I'm
going to
so
ask.
sorry.
But
Too much wine.
yeah,
Cheers. Yeah.
Yay.
We're stuck in like a stigma too of and I don't know if it's just a black mama thing or whatever, but we're always so set on my baby can't go over there with that girl. At the end of the day, you're the father or you're the other parent, and we have to trust that you're not gonna let anything happen to our child.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But then again, I sit back and watch all them crime shows that killed her boyfriend's daughter and then drug her in a suitcase and put her on the front step.
Oh no.
I
And I'm
see.
just like, well, I don't want
So
that.
maybe you should stop watching those.
Right.
Good advice.
Yeah. I got this.
Okay, so if you could give your younger self some advice
Mm.
in this in just this regard. So I'll go first and I'll tell you what mine was. Mine would be flexible and understand that you are not the only parent. Because I think I made that error as a younger mom. Like I gave birth to her, she came out of my body. That's my baby. But at the same time, it was also his baby. And they had the same, love and caring as I did. And a lot of things I did, a lot of things I said might not have been, all that kosher. But I did get better
Yeah.
as I started to grow as a woman because I was young. I was 22,
Yeah.
and as I got older and I had to live a little bit and learn how to be flexible and understanding. It's just like little instances like that with the hair that I'd be
Yeah.
like, yep, so now I'm coming to get her.
Yeah.
I'm coming to get her
Yeah.
because you did this now. But that wasn't fair.
If I had to have a conversation with my younger self, I would say, although I was 27 going into 28, I would have waited to have kids. I would
Same.
have waited to
Same.
make sure, that, you never know what's really written out for you or how your life is going to go. But I had been having problems with my ex, cheating, a list of things. And I should have loved my son to death, would not trade him for anything in the world. But I would have told myself to wait and to see how everything is going to play out.
Well, my younger self, I had no choice. It was something, we were not taught about being a single mother. We were not taught any kind of birth control. We were not taught anything about being a woman. That generation, no one told us about anything, so we didn't know. So when it happened, it was like, what do you do? What decisions do you make? What choices do you have?
Yeah.
The only choices you knew about was to have a baby, whether you wanted a baby or not.
So what would you tell your younger
I
self?
would tell my younger self to be happier when it happened.
Yes.
And to,
Were you
but-
upset?
oh yes, because I had plans. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to live my life. I had plans to do other things and to be a mother, even though it was easy because my parents, they kind of took over and gave me a chance. And I made a decision that I already made one mistake.
It just still
I'm
was
not gonna-
the cards.
It was not in the cards at that time because I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an enjoyable thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had sex.
Innocence.
So I knew nothing.
Oh Lord, who gets pregnant the first
Well,
day?
I was an
More
athlete.
often
I
than
was,
not.
I was an athlete. I was an athlete,
Yeah,
and I knew nothing about nothing.
yeah.
You're just doing it.
Thing.
I just did it because it was like
Everybody else was doing it.
they did. But I had graduated high school.
It seemed like it was fun to do.
No, it wasn't.
Them hormones
Then you
kicked
would
in.
do-
No, it was something that it happened, and it wasn't a forced thing, but it was kind of a forced thing that I went along with. I can't blame him. I went along with it and didn't know any better.
It didn't even
Yeah.
feel good, did it?
No,
I
no,
knew
nothing.
it.
So
Man.
and then that happened. My college went out the window.
Yeah.
Back then.
Back then, it went out the window because I was ashamed and afraid to tell anybody.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different. So my younger self, I would have gone on with my plans
Yep. And not let that
and
deter
not
you.
let that deter me. And when and go on and been happy, made my decision like I did, but let it, But I changed my mind, and I went on with my plans, and I got a job, and I started working, and I was very blessed. The grandparents on both sides jumped in.
That's awesome.
So you were also lucky.
I was very lucky. I was blessed. I love them,
Yeah.
both sides.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
I would tell my younger self to be more patient. I feel like looking back at things was partly my immaturity. Now, I wouldn't have been patient with my ex because he still to this day is that same personality when it comes to relationships. He likes his variety, so he wouldn't have been faithful.
Oh, he
But
wants his cake and eating it too.
oh yes, he told me after we got married, he's like, "Well, I like variety." Well, you shouldn't have got married.
Right.
But so I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have stayed with him, but I would have been patient in the process with our children, because I feel like now things with my girls could have been a lot different had their father been involved. And rather than let him just walk off, I should have encouraged him more to get things together in his life and stick
Participate
around.
with them.
Yeah, like, he kind of was, I kind of told him basically, you're here, then you disappear for a few months. The girls, we have girls, they're emotional. They're like, where's my daddy? I was like, be all the way in or be all the way out. And now looking back, maybe I shouldn't have forced that so much, but maybe had a little more patience with him, because it probably would have been better to keep him around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that even just if we take away the co-parenting and we just talk about relationships, and I think patience was probably my biggest downfall, because I don't have none now, and I really didn't have any then. I just had a low tolerance for lies and deception and things like that, and it was like, maybe I should have tried to
That's
work
good.
it
You were
out.
taught well, though.
Yeah.
I can remember, like, I wanted a baby so bad at one point that, like, I would cry. And, like, when other, like, my friends would get pregnant, or people would get pregnant that I felt like didn't deserve kids, that didn't have it all together. I had a job.
We never knew.
Yeah.
I would just sit and, like, boo-hoo cry to my mom, like, I want a baby so bad. And then when he got here and everything started to happen, I'm like, I should have waited.
Yeah.
I should have never did this.
You know what? And
I
this is
should've
4 generations of women talking here,
Yeah.
that all our experiences are different,
Right.
Mhm.
and everybody needs to hear what everybody has gone through.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
that
the
it's
point.
nothing is different for anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit different for me, because there was no birth control. There was nothing out there to even give you the information.
You weren't supposed to be out there in the back of the truck.
So,
That's what was supposed to happen.
oh, you weren't supposed, but who knew that?
Right.
Nobody told you.
Yeah.
The mothers were not taught to tell you anything about being a
I
woman.
think they felt like if they didn't tell, that you wouldn't do.
Be curious.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no, because their mothers didn't tell them.
oh yeah.
Their mothers didn't. A lot of mothers didn't
So,
tell them.
The word for women today is patience. Be
Agreed.
patient.
Definitely.
I see a lot of posts on Facebook a lot of the times from women that are my age, sometimes a little younger, and they're screaming, I want a baby. They don't have kids. But then you see them and they're traveling and they're going out whenever they want to, and
They don't realize that's gonna
they
stop.
don't realize that that's gonna stop. So it's like, just sit back and have a little patience. And honestly, with the economy right now and everything that's going on, I would be scared to bring a baby into the world right now.
But not just that, you got these females too who are trying to have babies for money.
Yeah,
Trying to get
that
the famous people, the basketball
That
players.
too.
Oh, this is a meal ticket
That
for
too.
me. I could get this child support and just live it up and have somebody watch my
Turn to
kid.
these, and it's nothing.
Right. And that poor kid off,
Yeah.
doing God knows
Yeah.
what, and not being looked after, not being cared
So,
for.
Just
And I think you're too young. You're too selfish. And I know that was my problem, is that I had a child and I was still very selfish. I was resentful. Like, I need to go get my nails done, but you need some Pampers. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
really was. I was
that's-
very
yeah.
selfish.
And we have to understand, and these young parents have to, ladies, we have to understand we can't be their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to be their parent, not their friend.
that.
And you're
Why
not.
can't we be both?
Well, you can be, but they have to learn who is the mother and who is not.
This
And
is why I feel like you can't be both. My best friend has a daughter who is my goddaughter, and she's 17. And when I tell you they talk to each other like they're friends, and it grinds my gears when I go over there and they're arguing back and forth, and I had to where I have to finally say, "Hey, that's
this is your
mom.
mother.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you need to walk away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what y'all do when I'm not here, but this is your mother, and you do not need to be talking to her like she's your friend."
Yeah.
But then I
Yeah.
have to also turn around and evaluate my friend, because it's like, why are you going back and forth with your daughter in this tone, and y'all are speaking to each other this way? When I'm not here, this is what y'all do.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to just come in and be here
Yeah.
for 30 minutes
Yeah.
in this, and I'm like, hey, you need to don't do that while I'm here.
I was friends with my mother, but my mother was a mother though.
Same with
And so we were friends because I respected her and I treated her like she was my mother, not my friend. Now we're friends, and she's still my mother.
Now you're her little friend.
yeah, I'm not one of your little friends.
I feel like you should be parents with your friends, parents with your kids, but you can also be friendly with your kids
yes.
to a certain degree, because I can relate to what Shanice was talking about. Like, I've always been kind of the stern one, and my exes have been the fun ones, and it kind of sucks because like I always got to put down the foot, when it comes to stuff, and they lean towards the father figure because
I want to go
with him because he's fun,
Yeah.
But and then as as they got older with teenagers, I'm like, okay, maybe I can ease up a little bit because they are doing well for themselves, And when I tried to do that, it just went left field because the influence that the ex had on them, all of a sudden, because they did that with him, they feel like they could talk to me like I'm a friend, and it got disrespectful. And I was like, okay, we got to put the guard back up.
Yeah.
Boundaries got to stay.
Well, I can honestly say, as I've gotten older with my mom, I am happy that we are actually friends now. Like, I thought about this
me
the other
too.
day. I was like, you know what? I want to tell somebody this happened. Let me call my mom. You know what I mean? This is what happened today. And I only do that with my friends.
And you remember, I talked to you. I said, it's your only mother you're going to have.
Yeah.
You have to talk to her.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now she'll call and she's like, what you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what you doing?
Yeah.
And it's probably like, she's like my best friend
I
now.
call my mom, I know, at least 10 to 12 times a day. I'm checking her location. I'm trying to figure out where she's
Just
at.
knows me. That's your problem.
Where you at? What you
That's
doing?
what that is.
Doing it with? I need to know
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Yeah.
you only get one mom, and
Yeah.
if they're not here, then it's like
Yeah.
you don't have that go-to person to
Yeah.
tell
That's
everything
special.
to.
My mom is 105, and she's been my go-to person
And that's the blessing.
all my life.
That's the blessing because my mom died kind of young. She died before I had my last son about 5 years ago, and she was like my rock. And so that was so hard for me. And so I'm the advocate for like, man, cherish your parents while you
That's
got
right.
them.
And
So
my
young
mom-
girls get along with your parents. Love your mama.
Love your mama.
Yeah.
Love your mama. I
Don't
call my
realize.
mama up and say, Mama, if the flight is empty, meet me, grab them kids, grab and meet me in New
Tell you
York.
One thing though, my mama can't come live with me, but I love her to death. She can't come live with me though. She can't just say, I want to pack up my stuff and come live with you. And ain't nothing wrong with her, and she's capable of working.
Right.
It's a no.
My mother and I lived together, and it was great.
She'll be like, I can call her and say, these kids, she's always on my team.
Yeah.
That I just appreciate.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm like, well, they talked to me. They didn't talk to my baby like that. You know what I mean? And I love that because I didn't have any sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now this relationship is even better than before because she always has my side.
Got your back.
Everything. But here's the other thing. My parents co-parented well, right?
Yeah.
I came to
So they didn't
Kansas
talk
City.
about each other.
No, I
And I
came
hate
to Kansas
that.
City and in the summers, and then I was back home with my mom, after they split up. But, my mom's always been like, how's your dad? How's everything going? And my dad will be like, hey, tell your mom happy birthday. So I think I had a really good example of how it could be done and respect
Yeah.
could have be paid.
Yeah.
That makes
So it's not you, it's him.
It's them.
It's them.
Yeah.
It's them. It's always them.
make a huge difference. Yeah.
It's always them.
It's always them.
Well, I want to thank you, ladies, for sitting down and have a conversation with me. I know that as women, we face a lot in the world without any support. And us supporting each other is the first step to us healing and being whole.
Right.
And of course, we got to do that with a little wine.
Yes. One
Cheers.
drink at a time.